What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for
Hey, you
Fluent
jumped the
Chill.
gun.
Hold on, H
Why are you
Boogie.
always jumping the gun?
Hold on, H Boogie. Hold on, H.
You just
Oh,
you don't like that voice that says, "Hey,
now we
recording
are.
in progress."
no.
Now
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fluent and Chill. It's good to have you guys here. Football season is upon us. We are in the midst of the NFL season, and before we get into anything fluent, your Bears, your Bears, yes, sir, they surprised us. Jay and I felt that.
This surprised me.
I mean, there's so many factors that play into it, but I gotta say congrats because that was a big win for y'all. I don't know if it's gonna be the only win this season, so enjoy it while it lasts, but it was a big win. How did you feel?
You can't ruin my high.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I said it. Hey, I thought that the 3 wins that we had in the preseason was going to exceed what we do. It was going to exceed what we did all season. I was realistic. I was realistic about them. I need to see what they do when they're not playing on Lake Michigan. Like they literally were playing on a lake. And
in Lake Michigan, in fact.
But to their credit. So as much as I think, I'm being honest, and I've said this, I think the 49ers are a better team. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me that we think the 49ers are a better team than the Bears. Like for the course of the season, they'll be a better team. That day, the Bears were better. Great. But there is one thing that I got to say, it's 1 week, but I'm really excited about because last season, one of the biggest issues among, lack of talent, injuries, bad game planning, like a lot of things that went bad, penalties killed the Bears last year. Like they'd be like, first and goal and then take a stupid penalty and it would be first and goal, but on the, 30-yard line, or they'd get a first down and it'd be called back because of a penalty. They get a touchdown called back because of a penalty. And one of the things Coach Matt Eberflus said in the offseason was, if nothing else, we are going to be a disciplined team and we are going to be a smart team. And you might not believe this. In that weather, with those slippery, slidey, crazy conditions, offense, defense combined, one penalty, which is just, you would think there'd be a pass interference because you slipped, there'd be an offside. There's so many things. One penalty. If they keep that up, they'll be, again, I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they'll at least be competitive. And at least I can see improvement. So from that very small sample size of one game, I really liked what I saw. It's hard to tell, right? The best play was a broken play. Justin Fields scrambling, throws a great pass to Dante Pettis for a 50-yard touchdown. Cool. How often are we going to get to, slide in I love the celebration at the end, not going to lie. And so yeah, I'm happy, but I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm happier than you guys are right now because I'll tell you this. Right? Remember what I said. What if he starts 0-3?
Tone, you and I had this discussion a week ago. We had this discussion before the season started. You already know how I feel about Trey Lance, but I'm all in because he's our guy. Now, there are a lot of things that we have to clean up. And one of the things that we have to clean up is penalties. We gave up almost 100 yards in penalties. Debo cannot fumble in the red zone, because I think that blows the game open if he doesn't fumble on the 4-yard line. If he keeps the ball and we end up scoring, that puts us up 17-0. And I think at that point, I think the Bears go away, to be quite honest with you, because now I think they got to play hurry-up offense, and I think that puts Justin Fields in a really precarious situation where now he's got to start rushing, and I think he'll make even more mistakes than what he was already making. So I think that was a turning point in the game. They had a bunch of big third downs. You know how I feel about Roquan Smith. I got a man crush on Roquan Smith, so we all know that. With that all being with that all being said, Tone, and I can't reiterate this to you enough, this offense better turn around, and it better turn around by week 3. Because if it doesn't, you're going to start hearing talk. You're going to start hearing balking about, should we get Jimmy G back in the lineup? Did they make the right decision? And if you start yanking Trey Lance in and out of the lineup, You're going to screw this kid up, which I said this to you before, Tone, and I still stand on it to this day. If Trey was our guy and he's going to be our guy, Jimmy has got to go. But what the problem that we're having is that they saw Trey and they weren't impressed as they thought they would be. And even if that's true, Jimmy G still couldn't be on the roster. It would have had to have been somebody else, because what you're doing when you keep Jimmy G on the roster, I equate this all the time, Haley, to the same thing. You can't move on with the new girl as long as the old girl's around. I can't.
Yeah.
As long as the ex-girlfriend's around, I can't move on. So Jimmy G is the ex-boyfriend. And as long as he's around, Trey's going to be looking over his shoulder. He's going to be constantly wondering, if I make a mistake, am I going to get yanked? As opposed to knowing that I am in the lineup, I'm the guy, and they're going to move forward with me. Because Trey wasn't terrible, Tone. I will tell you that. He wasn't terrible. But this offense has to improve. And if this offense doesn't improve by week 3, you're going to start to hear rumbling, and it's not going to be good.
Well, listen, I'll let Haley, because that's the 49ers, that's your team as well. But while Haley speaks, I'm just going to pull up something that you guys aren't going to like. But go ahead, Haley. I'll let you speak your piece, and then I'll tell you something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Jay. When it comes to like initially how Trey played, I was surprised, especially that first half. I was, pleasantly surprised. He did well. He hung in there, and then when the torrential downpour, but then it was a hurricane or whatever was going on, and that's difficult for anyone, much less a kid who's in his first game of his first season. So, as a starter. So, as far as all that went, I agree. I also had a lot of people, or I heard it kind of floating around that, they should have put Jimmy in. Kyle should have put Jimmy in to finish off that game and at least get the win, because everyone counts. But I agree with you. You can't do that to the team. You can't do that to Trey. You can't do that to the media's perspective, because once you start flipping things around that early on, it just sends a horrible, horrible message. So in that sense, it was good for him to feel that loss as the quarterback and run with that. But yeah, hopefully moving into week 2, we'll see something different. But yeah, I mean, even 2-3 games of losing, they're going to have to put Jimmy back in. And from there, do you see him start? Like, would we make him start? Like,
that's the problem. That's the problem right there. That's the problem right there, what you just said. They're going to have to put Jimmy back in. Jimmy shouldn't even be on the roster, because what I equated to is I'm thinking about Kurt Warner and I'm thinking about Eli Manning. Eli Manning wasn't ready, but the Giants paid him $35 million. And then you're taking Kurt Warner out of the lineup and you're putting him back in the lineup. And then you're taking Eli out of the lineup and you're putting him back in the lineup. And you're going to screw this kid up. Kurt said it to the Giants brass. Listen, if this is your guy, stick with him. And if this offense sputters, which I think it's going to, because again, we got a guy in Trey Lance who hasn't started in 2 years, and that was in college. That was only 12 games. So he basically has a Mitch Trubisky background. Now, is he a better player? I think he's a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. However, I wouldn't have a problem with Trey in this particular situation if the 49ers were teetering on the playoffs, or if we were a middle of the road team. This team is a team that looks like it can really challenge again for the NFC Championship. Now, if we're going to go with this kid, if we're going to go with Trey, which I still think it's a mistake, but we're going with him. If we're going to go with him, we got to stick with him, Haley. We can't, after week 3 and it's not looking good, we got to yank him. Nope, because you're going to screw him up, because he's the future. He's the future of the franchise. So if we're going to go with him, we got to go with him.
So we're going to have to pick at week 3. We would have to just go with one or the other.
We have to. We got to stick with Lance.
Would they do that though?
We have to and the reason why we have to, Haley, is because you already made the commitment to Trey. And if you get off of it now, and if you back off of it now, you're going to screw this kid up, not just for the future, but we basically tanking the season, because I'm not sure that Jimmy's going to come back in the lineup, because now what you're going to have is you're going to have a division on the squad, because there's some people who think, Trey's our guy. And then there's also some people who are going to think Jimmy's the guy. And that's not going to be good for morale. That's not going to be good for chemistry. It's just going to be a bad situation.
Yeah.
So I put it in the poll. Should the 49ers start Jimmy G? Currently, 71% are saying no, but put your votes in for those if you haven't already, as you're liking the video as well. But this is what I wanted to tell you when I said, hey, I got some info for you. So here's the info. Everyone thought they were going to beat the Bears. So they lose to the Bears. Seahawks come into town this week. Now, Seahawks aren't a very good team. I think they got up for Russell Wilson, and I think they played their best game of the season at home. So do I think the 49ers lose to the Seahawks? Well, they better not. Here's the problem. After the Seahawks, they have to go to Denver, a hard place to play normally, but now with Russell Wilson, right, even tougher. They then host the Rams. So it's conceivable that the 49ers will go 1-3 in their first 4 games. It does get easier because then they got the Panthers and the Falcons, but both on the road. Then this is what I'm worried about. If I'm starting 1-3, do I let Trey Lance go into those 2 easy games? Or, and I would, of course, if he makes it past that, or do I pull him and say, okay, listen, we need Jimmy G in there to make sure we win these 2 easy games? Because if they don't beat the Seahawks, I'm yanking him. I'm not, you know me, fail fast, right? If they somehow lose this week, he's out. Especially, and they don't have George Kittle, kind of that insurance blanket that we like too, which doesn't help. But then after those 2 easy games, they've got the Chiefs, the Rams, the Chargers, the Cardinals, and the Saints, and the Dolphins the next 6 weeks after those 2 games. So that's my point, is my fear for them is they're going to go through a 6-game stretch that if they go 500, 3-3, that's going to actually be impressive. So the problem is if you're 3-3 at that point, then you're still 6-6. But if you can somehow go 4-2, my point is if they lose these early games, they're going to dig themselves a hole that they might not be able to get out of.
Well, we've already done that, Tone, and the reason why we've done that is because we went with the kid. So we've already committed to the kid. So it's not
they probably should have done that last year in his rookie season.
Right. We've already committed to the kid. That's the problem. So it's not a situation where now we can backtrack, where if I think him in Atlanta, him in Carolina, I think those are confidence builders of all the games that they're in. I think that those games are confidence builders to stick with him. And if we are to win those games and then going into games like against the Rams, who I'm not impressed with at all. Haley, you already heard what I said about the Rams, and especially after watching Buffalo go into Los Angeles. I mean, after watching them go into Los Angeles and basically stomp them, I'm straight on the Rams. And Tone, you've almost I'm not going to say you almost. It was a very good effort.
Say it.
In convincing me about Matt Stafford. You almost did it.
He's going to do the rest of the work for me.
You almost convinced me with Matt Stafford, but then I'm thinking to myself, especially after watching him, I'm like, here he is. That's who I was looking for. That's the Matt Stafford that I remember. So with that being said, the Rams aren't a team that I'm impressed with at all. Now, those other teams like the Chargers, the Chiefs, I got the Chiefs and the 49ers in the bowl game. So I look at this situation, once again, if we can hold on and stick with the kid like we're doing, and he can just improve and get better, then we got a shot. Otherwise, I think this is going to be I think it could be a lost season.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, guys. The poll is sitting at 53% say no, which means 47% say, and I'm going to end the poll here. 47% say it's Jimmy G time.
That's probably how our fan base about that percentage feels the same way.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. If I'm sure there's decimal points there because it says 53 and 46. Maybe 1% is undecided.
Yeah, close. Well, Fluent. I mean, Justin Fields obviously did pull off the win. How, compared to last season, how are you feeling about him? Do you feel confidence in kind of some of the things he's grown in, or are you still a bit hesitant with him as well?
In who?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. If I'm being honest, there's the tape on both quarterbacks, Trey Lance and Justin Fields, is still out. Like those types of games and those conditions,
what did we learn? What did we
learn? We learned that
Yeah.
the Bears can win a game, in crazy conditions, which we already knew. We saw the snow game, the fog game, at any time that there's something crazy, the Bears seem to find a way to win. Like there's a game where you couldn't even see the ball as it's been thrown 10 yards ahead of you.
Right.
Remember that? So the fog bowl. So yeah, we didn't learn anything. I learned I learned he can hit Dante Pettis on the run in a monsoon, which is awesome. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to be playing in a lot of monsoons. And if the Bears have their way, they're going to build a dome. They ain't going to have any more bad weather games. So, which is great for me because then I can go watch more games into December and January. Makes me happy.
Are we going toward that way, Tone, where cold weather cities in their new football stadiums, are we just going to be playing in domes all over the place? Or are we going to have teams where we actually have football weather? Because last I checked, football is played outside. It's played in the fall and it's played in the winter. That game in Chicago, that's football weather. That's weather that you play in that's weather that you play in. I mean, that's what you play in football. So that was football weather. Now, of course, they did play in Lake Michigan. No question about that. The ball was slippery and it was hard to get traction. But at the end of the day, football is played outside. It's played in the cold. It's played in snow. It's played in rain. It's played in mud. That was football weather. So to get an idea of Trey Lance, to get an idea of Justin Fields in football weather, because, I mean, again, Justin Fields did go to Ohio State in the Midwest. So this is the kind of weather that they play in. Are we looking to is that the future of football? Like all of these teams are going to be playing in domes and we're going to no longer have football weather?
Yes. Yeah, it is. And I get it. The historicals, the old heads, which is so funny because I get called an old head a lot, but in reality, I would love 32 domes where weather isn't a factor because I want to see great players play great. I want to see the best team win. I don't want to see the team with the longest cleats. I don't want to see the team, that was smart enough to have the snowplow guy come and plow a spot for the kicker to kick, win the game. Although the Bears did get a penalty because you're not allowed to use a foreign object to alter alter the field. They put the towel down and whatever.
That was crazy.
And they got the penalty, and that was a field goal, right? But yeah, for me, it's, as a Bears fan, especially, like I've been fortunate enough to walk on Soldier Field. I rolled my ankle walking. So I don't know how they play. It was horrible. And then they put new grass in this year, like right before the season started, like last minute, they put in new grass and then, we need a little water. And they got a lot of water, so it's just like those types of things are just like remember, like I'm thinking of the fields that I got to be on, the old Raider Stadium that was like half baseball dirt and grass. I hated it. I was like, how do people play football on this? And then 3 years ago, Thanksgiving, I'm in Detroit watching the Lions and Bears play. Go down onto the field. It's actually really cool. They let my kids grab a ball and like they run from the 25-yard line and they run into the end zone and get to score a touchdown, do a touchdown dance. And so I'm walking the field. What a difference. I'm like, this is perfect. It's level. It's clean. It's smooth. Like I can perform my best. So, now I get it. Turf's a little bit harder sometimes, but they have that new grassy turf that's soft, cushiony. So yeah, I think, yes, to answer your question, that's where it's going because what's the main point of sport? Entertainment and revenue. And as much as, some diehards will be like, I love the minus 30-degree wind chill. You can get more fans if it's an indoor game with sushi than, an $18 beer in minus 30-degree weather. That's just the facts.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess from a business perspective, but there's something about like I don't know. There's just something about like playing in the elements. And I mean, I get
you'll never get a Super Bowl. Never get a Super Bowl in the North unless you have a dome. Like that's why, like, that's another thing, right? If
well, Packers games that are in the snow.
Whoa. Do you remember where the Denver Broncos got stomped by the Seattle Seahawks? You remember that, Tom? That was in Giant Stadium, just so you know.
How many times has that happened? That's rare.
But it was in Giant Stadium, though. Just remember that, though. I mean, they do have that. So
okay, they have it. Yes. How many times have they done it?
That's the first time they did it.
Okay, yeah. And how many years?
That's the first time.
Yeah, nice try, Jay.
One example.
Always giving the exception to the rule.
That's the first time he did it.
J Rock said, "What about home field advantage?" I think there's
advantage.
many.
Okay, let's be very clear. Home field advantage does not come from the weather. Okay, home field advantage comes from your crowd, your locker room. Ask the Patriots about cutting out the other team's mics. That's home field advantage. Because let's be honest, how many people that play on a team were born and raised in that city and can feel the weather? So, like, what are we talking about? Sure. Friggin', what was that guy's name? The butt bowl guy, the guy that did the butt fumble. Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez played in California and went and played for the Jets. What does he know about cold weather? What does Aaron Rodgers? What does Aaron Rodgers from Northern California know about Green Bay weather?
Yeah, I mean, we beat the Packers.
He developed it over the years, but like,
not to mention, I've never really been a big component of home field advantage, Tone. I've always felt like if I'm better than you or you better than me, you can whoop me anywhere. If I'm better than you, it don't make a difference where we play.
Yeah.
There's exceptions. There's like Seattle does get it. Like you can get a boost from your fans. Like I there's some energy there. Mm-hmm. But the better team typically wins, whether it's home or on the road. But again, in football specifically, it's I don't think it's the weather that creates that.
Right.
As far as games from week 1, there are a couple standout games that I want your like super small summary. Fluent, for the Steelers-Bengals game, did that surprise you? And how did you enjoy kind of the ending there? And obviously the Bengals, Joe Burrow struggled. The O-line is still an issue. Is this just a game that made the Steelers look a bit better? And can we expect more from the Bengals?
The Bengals played the worst game that they're going to play this season. So let's, how often is Joe Burrow going to throw 3 interceptions and get sacked 5 times in the first half? Probably not very often. They obviously have some things to clean up there. There might be been the Super Bowl hangover a little bit. And let's be honest, they went into a game against a Pittsburgh team that people aren't expecting to be great. They're kind of, middle of the road team with Mitch Trubisky, who's not a great quarterback. And they probably made a mistake that a lot of teams do. They underestimated them. Pittsburgh, you have to remember, is at the end of the day a very good defensive team. They are an exceptionally coached team, and you have to take them serious. You can beat them, right? They probably, are 500. I guess now you can't go really 500, but they're an 8-9, 9-8 team, unless teams like the Bengals go in, take them lightly, and then they'll beat you, and then they'll end up being an 11-win team, and then that's not a team you want to play in the playoffs. Right. A team like that has weapons like Najee Harris. And I know people are not as high on Claypool, but Deontay Johnson, like they've got weapons. And let's not forget, Mitch Trubisky, again, not a world beater, but he won't lose games for you. Right. Like he did have Allen Robinson and they got, 1,200 yards together, 1,100 yards together. So he's capable. He's better than we saw in Chicago where quarterbacks go to die. And now, TJ Watt, that's going to hurt. But TJ Watt, what's his name? Fitzpatrick. No,
Mika.
Yeah, Mika. These guys are really good on defense. Like, so, you can't underestimate the Steelers. They're beatable, but you can't underestimate them. So I was really surprised that they came into a division, especially division games, and just kind of, now they had bad kicking. They had, bad. There's a lot of stuff that happened. Bad first half, bad kicking. But they came back. If you think about it, they came back, touchdown Jamar Chase, and then they get an extra point blocked. Like everything had to work in Pittsburgh's favor to get a 1-point win against them. That's how good the Bengals are.
I think that the Bengals had the best young core in the game, and I don't think that what we saw, I don't think that was an aberration. I do think that was an aberration. I'm sorry. I think that was something small, and I don't think that that's something that's going to continue. Boyd's going to be better. Higgins is going to be better. Jamar Chase is going to be even better. But that Pittsburgh team is a lot better than what I thought that they were going to be, in particular in their secondary. Minka Parsons is going to win those guys a lot of games. I think Minka's going to win those guys a lot of games. Not Minka Parsons. I'm sorry. Minka, I keep forgetting his last name. Anyway, Minka is going to win them a lot.
It's Fitz.
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Minka Fitzpatrick.
Minka Fitzpatrick. That's his name. Minka is going to win them a lot of games this year, just off the strength of his ability to slow down and not just cut the field in half, but limit guys. I think he's I think he's incredible, and I think that he's gonna win a lot of games for Pittsburgh this year. And I think that Coach Tomlin is gonna do a great job in coaching that team. I think that when I was watching them, I'm thinking to myself, who wants to win this game? Because neither of these guys look like they even want to win this game.
Yeah, it's looking like another tie.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's good for me. I took the under, so I'm. This is good. Score as the least amount of points as you can. But this is what we expected, because I expected, just due to obviously both having. Chiefs playing Arizona was a disgrace. It's Arizona. I'm from Arizona. I didn't expect anything more or less from them, but the thing is, this is an even matchup. The Chargers and Chiefs is a great matchup. So I think it'll pick up maybe in the third, late, or maybe even late in the fourth. But also Jillian has now joined us. What's up, Jillian?
Jillian, dear, hello. How are you, dear?
Busted beat you to it. Busted 6221. Hello, Jillian, dear.
You wrote it in the comments. But
I think that Pittsburgh is gonna be a lot better than what I thought. I thought that they had a situation at quarterback. I thought Trubisky, I still think that Trubisky, he might be a middle of the road guy. He might be a bridge quarterback, but I think he's good enough, and I think that defense in Pittsburgh is good enough to win them a lot more games than what I thought that they were going to win. A lot more. So, yeah.
Well, let's see how long Watt is out with that. I guess the Pack
I think they're looking at 6 weeks, Tone. Almost, they're looking at 4 to 6 weeks is what he's going to be out. Now, it may be a little bit longer than that, but I think with that defense, I think they're going to be a lot better than what I thought they were going to be. No doubt.
Yeah. Two things. Busted 6221. He said in the chat, Jamar Chase, #1 receiver in the league, or is it too early? How you feel about that, Jake?
Listen, he's fighting for the #2 spot. Him and Devontae Adams can fight for that spot because Justin Jefferson is the #1 wide receiver in football.
I'm not fighting that at all. I think Justin.
I guess Cooper Kupp's probably in there too, but at the for the 3-4 spot, Justin Jefferson.
But tier 2 is.
Listen, I've gone on record as my hot take of the season that Justin Jefferson will flirt, if not get, a triple crown. It'll be the first time in football history we have back-to-back triple crown winners. The only thing I'm worried about is receptions. I think yards and touchdowns he has on lock. Receptions, we'll see if he can get them.
The $1 million question with Justin Jefferson is, can he stay consistent? And not just him, it's can his quarterback. His quarterback. His play, Justin Jefferson doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to be up and down in terms of his production. Can his quarterback stay consistent? Because if his quarterback can stay consistent, I think Justin Jefferson we're going to have a serious conversation about him being the best wide out in the game. No doubt about
that. And R. Smith said JJ got lucky. Torn pack usually means the whole season. Yes, he did.
Yes.
Jillian said, why do I feel like people are hella underrating the Chiefs right now? And honestly, when I watched game 1, I wasn't underrating them. In fact, I said they are probably going to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs look great, but again, Arizona kind of made them shine brighter. We're going to kind of see what they're made of. But do you feel like the Chiefs have a pretty solid season ahead of them, Jay?
I got them in the bowl game with the 49ers. I think I got a repeat of 2020. I got them in the bowl game with the 49ers, and I got us beating them this time. I got us handling them. Yes, I do. Better. I look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I look at their offense. Even though they've lost Tyreek, I thought that they would be solid enough with Kelsey and with Juju. They look like they've implemented more of their running game than they did last year, and I think that they got. I think that they have. I think that they got Patrick Mahomes throwing more than they have him running and improvising. I think they got him running more. I think that's going to be great for their offense. But the Kansas City Chiefs defense, more than anything, is going to be the difference, because that was the difference last year. I didn't think that I didn't think that the difference would be Patrick Mahomes, because you're going to get what you're going to get from Pat Mahomes. He's arguably the best in the business. Kelsey's arguably the best in the business. Their offense was never really sputtering. I think that the difference this season is that offense is going to be more spread out and their defense is going to be better.
Yeah. Fluent, the Packers and Bears aren't a rivalry no more. How do you feel about that?
They are not a rivalry right now. So if you look back at the Packers and Bears, it's the oldest rivalry in football. The Packers just recently took the lead. Like, it wasn't like they've had the lead for 10 years, just recently. And it goes, look, it was the Bears for a while, then it was the Packers for a long time. Now, recent history, people will see, right? Listen, in the span that the Packers have had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterbacks for 90% of the games in the last 30 years, the Bears have had about 50 different starting quarterbacks. So yes, in recent history, it is not a rivalry anymore. But listen, the Bears know, and every Bears coach knows if they're smart. Like, I remember Lovie Smith came in. He didn't say we're going to win a Super Bowl. Lovie Smith came in and said, what's job one? Beat the Packers. What did they do? They won the division. They beat the Packers. What did they end up doing? Going to a Super Bowl, right? No, yeah, they eventually fired him. But my point is that's kind of the NFC North in the last 30 years since Farve and Rodgers have gotten there. Beat the Packers, win the NFC North, and you're on your way. They just haven't been able to do it. You know, when Aaron Rodgers says, I own these guys, you just kind of go, yeah. Yep. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. So the good news is he can't have that many years left. So we might have a chance. And then guess what happens, right? Hey, listen, every NFL Live, let me tell you one more time, at every NFL Live, whoever you are, if you come onto this channel, you have to pay us for this sponsorship. Thank you to the moderators for deleting that. I appreciate that. You guys are on the ball.
How lucky are the Green Bay Packers to have Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in succession? So we literally looking at over 30 years of elite quarterbacking.
Yeah.
What other team can say that?
Great drafts.
What other team can say that? I mean, that's incredible right there with those two guys. No doubt. Now, Brett Favre off the field, that's a different subject. But as a
what a great segue.
That's something different. Since we're on that subject.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson, by the way, I'm going to end the poll so I can talk about the biggest POS of the year. Well, I don't know about the year. So I had three candidates. So we were supposed to. So let me end the poll. 62% Justin Jefferson, 25% Devontae Adams, 12% Jamar Chase. So just Justin Jefferson it is. We were going to start the show, the Let's Get Fluent, or Now You're More Fluent, whatever you want to call it, with my POS. That's piece of. Another word for garbage. And I had three candidates, and I guess I gave it away a little bit who the winner is, but let me give you the three candidates. Candidate number one, the owner of the Phoenix Suns. I don't even want to say his name. Who should be fired? Period. End of sentence. Full stop. He should be fired. Worse than what Donald Sterling did in the Clippers. He should be gone. Among some other owners. We need to start calling these guys out and get it's a privilege to play in the league, it should be a privilege to own a team. And if you can't be a good person, not a good, you know what I mean when I say a good person, because I know the world isn't filled with unicorns and rainbows. They're ruthless businessmen. But at the same time, if you do stuff like that, you're out. So that was candidate number one. Candidate number two is non-sports related, but it's every single person, whether you're blatantly racist or subconsciously racist or just like hiding in the shadows racist, who got mad that a fictional character about a fictional creature is black. The Little Mermaid, if you don't know. She's a fish. She's not real. She's a fish. She could be yellow. She could be orange. She could be purple. That was candidate number two. Just ridiculous that you made a big stink that, oh, I grew up with you. I don't care. Hercules, who is Greek. And I get it. My life hasn't been as hard as some other. Hercules is Greek. You know who played Hercules? A black Samoan, The Rock.
Yes, he did.
Troy was Greek. Who played him? Brad Pitt. Ain't no Greek person look like Brad Pitt. Let me tell you that right now. Again, it's not the same, but you know what I'm saying? It's just like, get over it. That being said, the winner, and for those of you that don't know, I'm going to share this with you. The winner, Brett Favre, is the winner for POS of the month. He is September's piece of, you know what? He and the governor of Mississippi, in case you don't know, let me fill you in, colluded to divert, meaning steal $5 million. I'll say that again. $5 million from a welfare fund.
Mm-hmm.
He stole $5 million to buy his daughter's volleyball team, to build them a volleyball stadium or volleyball court, whatever, at the University of Southern Mississippi. I pulled this up. Hopefully you can all see this to show you his net worth, which is probably more than that, right? That's the number they claim is $100 million. So $100 million man couldn't pay $5 million. I made the Brett Favre volleyball stadium of the University of Southern Mississippi. You had to steal it from people who needed it for welfare. Now, say what you want to say about social assistance, welfare, whatever. Still, that $5 million was for people who need it. And we built a volleyball. We built a volleyball stadium. And they saw his text messages about him knowing it was wrong. Hey, I want to make sure, this isn't going to be found out. No one's going to know that it was us. Da, da, da. And the governor was saying, oh, yeah, no, we're safe. We're all good. I checked with these people and they're all on board.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew it was wrong. Yep. You knew you were stealing, but my daughter needs a nice court to play and I don't want her to scuff her little knee. That is the biggest piece. I'm trying not to cuss as much as I can. That's the biggest piece of garbage for September 2023.
Well, to start, Tone, I'm the other way. So we'll start the conversation with, I've never been one to think that owning a football team or playing in the playing professional basketball, or playing pro football is a privilege. Nobody made me sign up for this. Nobody gave me a uniform. I worked my you-know-what off to get here. I'm not privileged to be here. I earned the right to be here. However, once I've earned the right to be here, there's things that come with that. There's a way that I have to conduct myself because I am now a professional. When I'm at that point, I am now a professional. And because I'm a professional, I have to conduct myself as a professional. Even though I did earn the right to be here, I have to conduct myself a certain way. And with that being said, if I'm a boss, I've earned the right to be here. And this doesn't mean everybody. There are plenty of guys who were given teams. But then you got guys like Dr. Buss, who actually earned the right to be the Lakers owner. He bought the team, and he basically took that team from the bottom from where it is and made it a big deal. And he earned the right to be there. And he conducted himself in a way that's professional. I should not have to go to work, Tone, and listen to the guy who signs the checks calling me out my name, disrespecting women, being foul to other employees. I should not have to deal with that, even if I'm an entry-level employee. Whether I'm an entry-level employee or I am right under the CEO, I should not have to listen to that at all whenever I go to work. Now, Tone, we've only seen what's on the surface. We can't negate the people who just decided to quit because, you know what? I don't even want the aggravation. I'm not going to sue. I'm not going to say what he did. I just quit because I don't even want the aggravation of this anymore. And they don't want to work there anymore. We haven't even mentioned those because I'm sure that line is also long as well. But this isn't something that just came about. This is going on for years. Not only was it going on for years, it was going on for years throughout the NBA. And when a guy like Farve comes out and he says what he says, and these allegations come out, which he wouldn't even own up to them. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the reporter's name's Adams, and Farve had said about Adams, I can't believe these allegations against me are false. No, they're not. They are not, because there are plenty of people who corroborated them. There are plenty of people who confirmed them. So you were doing these things. So the accountability aspect from him is clearly not there. So this slap on the wrist of $10 million, sensitivity training, and a year on vacation is beyond me. That's basically all it is. It's beyond me, and I have no respect for what he is doing. And there are people like him who own businesses like this, billion-dollar businesses, that should not be in business, Tone. Absolutely not. I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah,
now,
you don't have to look far. Washington.
I'm not a fan of that at all. Guys, him, right, Snyder. Now, as far as Brett Favre, I think you left out an important part, Tone. Don't forget that in addition to his daughter going there, do you know where Brett Favre went to school?
Oh, yeah. No, It's his alma mater, right?
Right. He went to Southern University, so he also has an invested interest in that. Now, when you look at Mississippi, which is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of the 50 states, it's the poorest of the 50 states. They are the ones who need it the most, even though the social service system is a little bit the other way. You're looking at a guy in Brett Favre who, like you just said, Tone, you just showed us he's worth $100 million. So $5 million, if my math is correct, I think the number is actually 110 million, Tone. So
it's that. Right. I just pulled up the first one. It's and again, that's what they admit to. I think that $5 million, I think that's 2%, Tone, of his net worth. I think it's barely 2%. Oh yeah, if it's more, yeah.
I think it's
probably 3-4%, but yes,
I think it's 2%, which means he could put his hands on $5 million himself.
He could have easily said, "Here's 2.5 and a couple of buddies each put."
Yeah, pitch in.
He could have very well done that. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Haley. He going to jail for this, and I got no problem. He's going to jail.
So should the governor, the governor who helped him.
Yeah, they really should.
And let me quickly say, if I made a quiche on NBA who says $10 million is a slap on the wrist, OG, I'm assuming it's a question mark.
Absolutely.
Robert Sarver's net worth is $800 million. So yes, $10 million is like someone who makes $50,000 getting fined $50. So yes, it's a slap on the wrist.
Nothing, B. $10 million.
People confuse. You know what it is? People can listen. $10 million is a lot of money, like regularly. But here's the thing: people forget there's a difference between rich and wealthy.
Yes,
and let me explain. Rich people, right? Like even the 1% make $400,000 a year. And I know I'm saying it like that, like it's not that much. Players are rich.
Mm-hmm.
NBA players, NFL players are rich. The people who sign their checks, right? Like, just think about it. LeBron James has been in the league for 20 years. Endorsements, production companies. He just hit $1 billion. When you got guys like the Waltons, who just bought the Broncos, who are like worth $500 billion. And again, I'll put it into perspective. He bought LeBron James can't buy the Broncos.
No, he cannot.
They sold for $4.5 billion. He can't buy them just cash. The Waltons paid $4.5 billion. And they did a thing where it's the equivalent. If you take the average American's pay, like salary for a year, it'd be like the average American paying $9,000 for the team. That's how much money he has. Him paying $4.5 billion would be like the average American paying $9,000.
Right.
Okay. That's the difference between rich, wealthy.
Yeah.
So yes, 10 million seems like a lot. Not when you have 800 million, considering you should lose your team for what you did.
And on top of that, don't leave out the sensitivity training and not just the sensitivity.
Oh, please.
Not just the sensitivity training. The fact that he's suspended for a year, and the logic with Adam Silver was that we don't have any. The only precedent it's the second longest suspension in league history. Well, the only other one that you had was the guy who lost his team, and this guy, his was worse than the guy that you booted.
So one, let's Robert Sarver. Listen, we know that how about all the people that he's caused
emotional damage?
And you notice something else about the two teams? First, it was Sterling with the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Sarver and the Suns. Do you know what player's been on both of those teams when those two things came out?
Chris Paul.
Chris
Paul.
I don't know.
I think he's in a different space.
Chris Paul's to the bottom of it.
Yeah, I think
he was the team. He was NBA players, either vice president, president, one of those.
President
of the union. Yes, he is.
Good for him. Keep going, Chris Paul. I support you.
Mm-hmm. He's the president of the union.
Yeah.
So, and he came out and said that, and I think that he's right. He came out and said that the punishment that Salva got, he horrified by what's going on. And also too, Tony, I mean, he's been on the crew for he's going into year 3. He wasn't just walking around there not knowing what was going on. He knew what was going on also, just like a lot of those other guys knew what was going on. Because when you're in that kind of environment where it's that hostile, it shows, and it shows early. You can tell that, what's going on around here? These people are not happy. These people are walking around on eggshells. And there's no way for me to believe that a guy could keep his job if Haley's walking down the hall and he drops his pants right in front of you. That's not okay. I don't care where you work at. That is not okay. I don't care if you sign the checks or it's your first week on the job and you just got a check. That is not okay. That dude, I'm not okay with what he was doing. I'm not. No way.
Yeah, no. His behavior is gross all around. Obviously, it shows his heart, his character. It's not a one-time ordeal. And honestly, I think there needs to be some kind of intervention, but it is what it is.
I'm not.
I guess when you're that rich, you can get away.
I'm not laughing at what you said. I'm laughing at Jillian, who, just so you know, the poll came back and it was 52% Brett Favre. So I must have made a good case.
Yeah.
31% everyone mad at Black Little Mermaid, and 15%, I'm surprised it's that low, Robert Sarver. Jillian was like, I wish there was a everyone button. You're absolutely right. Next time I do that poll, I will
all the above.
I'll put all the above. You're absolutely correct.
Everybody out, no doubt. Everybody's out. Everybody.
Yeah.
Should we transition into some football? Some basketball? I mean,
yes,
yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
Did I do a poll? No, I've done enough polls. Can you tell? I found a new trick. I got to show you.
No, I like it.
I showed you a picture. I did a poll.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Next week, it might be time for another draft.
I think it is. But I just wanted to, it's nice to ease into football season. Although this game is
17-7, Chargers with another one.
Ooh.
Well, they marching too. They marching. Justin Herbert got these dudes. This thing is humming. He got these dudes humming.
Really?
Yeah, he got these dudes humming.
Yeah.
I love it. 80% of
Mike Williams.
80, I like it. But yeah, on a NBA trajectory, Jay, you had this question, and I really like it, and I kind of want you to kind of dig a little bit deeper into it. But why is basketball the only sport where we value skill more than production?
Well, it's the only sport. We don't do that in football. We don't do that in baseball. We don't do that in basketball. It's the only sport where we value guys who are more skilled, and it looks better than we do that a guy produces. Even when a guy isn't as skilled, but he's producing more, he's not valued nearly as much as this guy who it looks better, except he isn't producing as much as this guy. We don't do that in football. For example, I'll give you an example, and I know that you guys are going to hate this, but Steph Curry is number 51 right now on the scoring list in NBA history. After year 13, he's number 51. The consensus for Steph Curry is that he's a top 10 scorer all time. The majority of the people that you'll talk to will tell you that Steph Curry is a top 10 scorer all time. I don't think, and Tone is a football guy, I don't think that there's anybody that I could convince, specifically not Tone. I can't convince Tone that Garrison Hurst is a top 10 rusher in NFL history. Garrison Hurst is 51st on the all-time rushing list. There's no way that I could convince Tone that Garrison Hurst is top 10 all-time on the rushing list. There's no way that I could convince a baseball guy that Pudge Rodriguez, who is 49th, I think he's either 49th or 50th on an all-time hits list, is a top 10 hitter all-time in Major League Baseball history. But in pro basketball, we got a guy who's not top 50 all-time in total points, and this is what his skill set has produced over the last 13 years. He's a top 10 scorer all time. And the reason why that is because I think that we value a guy looking good as opposed to what he produces. And I still can't get to the bottom of why that is.
Okay, so I see your point, but it's true and it's not true. So yes, in basketball, I agree. We look at skill more than production too much. I think it's too far on the other side. Steph as the example, however, though, is, well, when you look at Steph, they look at his peak, not kind of when he was coming up and, playing in a different role. They look at his peak. They look at, hey, he's the best shooter of all time. He's, you look at his percentages and his average points per game in, those prime years. And really, you should look at that, right? Like
that's important. Sure, that's important.
Like for example, right? I know that they're close, but Elgin Baylor is ahead of Kevin Durant in points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people would say Elgin Baylor was a better scorer than Kevin Durant. Very few. Some might. Some might. Let me think of others. When you think of scoring, There's people when you look.
There are people who will tell me, Tone, that Dominique Wilkins is not a better scorer than Carmelo Anthony.
There you go. Because there was parts of his career, especially at the end, where he averaged less per game, and people will take that into account. When you say they don't do it in football, I'll give you a perfect example just from last year, though. Cooper Kupp clearly produced more than anyone has ever done in football in terms of yards, receptions, touchdowns, in the playoffs, Super Bowl MVP. Like literally, if you look at that whole year, there's never been a better season. But there's still people who will say, well, he's not top 5 because his skill set, he can't play the outside receiver. If I was building a team, I would still pick Justin Jefferson's, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Jamar Chase. Like they'll list off 5 guys they pick ahead of Cooper Kupp. So they do it in other sports. And it's tough and that's why I always try to do this. And it's hard to say, hey, am I having a skills conversation or a production conversation? Because I agree. I think Justin Jefferson is more skilled than Cooper Kupp. But last season, Cooper Kupp was the best receiver last season, right? This year remains to be seen. When you look at Steph again as the example, 51st in total points, but where is he in points per game?
Right.
Where is he when you look at, again, in those prime years? Because, I'm trying to think of players who had like big Kareem. People don't give Kareem, he's number 1 all time. And they don't see he's the best scorer. And then they look at this points per game. But yeah, his last 3 seasons was like, 13, 12, 10. Like there was a drop off there at the end too. In his best years, 30 points a game. Plus he was 20 rebounds. So you have to have what I try to do. And I see what you're saying. What I try to do is say, okay, here's production, here's skill, right? I try to mesh them together. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, skill doesn't mean anything because Kyrie's the most skilled player in the game. Lead a team.
I don't care. It's not the winning.
Win you games.
Winning
doesn't win you games.
Yeah. Those things they do, Tone, and that's part of your production. Being athletic, being skilled.
Yeah, they play towards that. Yeah,
right. What are you producing with these things, though? That's the thing that I'm concerned with more than anything. So, for example, you talk about Steph Curry. Steph Curry averaged 24 a game for his career, which I've always said this to you, Tone. When you got a guy, by the time he's in like year 5, okay. That's who this guy is. Steph at around year 5, I think he was 24-6. He averages 24-6 for his career. So over the last, I think 6 years, 6 or 7 years, I think Steph was around that, right? He was around that. But there are guys who, like for example, Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony averaged 26 a game for over a decade. Now, is he a better scorer? Is Steph Curry more skilled than him? Did Carmelo Anthony produce more than Steph Curry? Well, in terms of points per game or in terms of being a scorer, he did. But if you look at Steph Curry and the fact that they won and what was he producing? Well, he did produce more on a bigger stage. He was on a better team. So that stuff matters. That stuff matters also.
Yeah.
It
all does.
What I've found is that we typically, it's not just basketball is the point. Like that, I think a lot of sports now are doing that skill thing. And I don't know if it's something, maybe Haley can talk to it, that you guys drink in your water, the younger generation who like values the skill and how it looks, right? How it looks seems to be important. Which it wasn't back, like I remember win ugly. I don't care. I remember my coach saying, I don't care how you look on the court. Go out and hustle, dive into the stands. I don't care what you do. Do what you have to do. And now it's like, well, let's make sure that, it's that whole white man can't jump, right? Woody Harrelson was like, you just want to look good. I just want to play good. Deion Sanders, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's, listen, and I'm of that mindset, right? They called me Hollywood for a reason. Ask Tony Doak. So I get it, but I'm going off on a tangent. Let me wind it back, if I may. I think it is happening more and more. To basketball just seemed to be the first one, that people started talking more about skill than production. It's happening in other sports too.
It's happening.
It's not a good thing. Yeah, I say it was the first one, but it's happening.
And it is happening, Tone. But I will tell you that I do still think that they value the skill set more in basketball than they do in every other sport.
Yeah, I think
100%.
you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. But maybe it's because also though in basketball you can see it. You can see now certain positions in football, like the skill position, quarterback,
right.
wide receiver, running back,
right,
tight end. But in basketball, everyone you can see them handle the ball. You can see the way they shoot. You can see the way they pass. You can, it is offensive driven, and skill set is offensive driven. Like no one says, "Hey, look at the positioning of that defender. Look how quick his hands are. Right? Look how low he gets when he's in his defensive stance." No one talks about that stuff. It's really about shooting, ball handling, passing, and sorry.
Well, Jay, think of it.
A weird chat.
Think of it this way as well, because the amount of time, the amount of hours poured into watching specific players, and with basketball, it's so much more personal. Like you have that, that you can just see the person. You can watch one single individual player the entire time play for hours on end every other day of the week. Versus football, like how often do we see players playing? I mean, it's such a. You see them in for a minute or two, and then they're out again, and then back in. So I think that also maybe kind of drives that, we're all about skill. It also comes down to differentiating between those two. Do people really have the same definition for skill and production all across the board? I think some people mix that up oftentimes as well, or they think they're talking about skill, or they think they're talking about production, and it just gets kind of messed up. So, yeah,
I think the thing that bothers me is not the skill aspect of it, because the skill aspect of it matters, right?
Skill. Oh yeah.
Your skill. No, I get what you're saying. It's the skill matters, but when you overvalue skills over production,
that's where I'm at with it. Because again, your skills are what go into your production. It's basically a byproduct of what you're producing. This is my skill set, and my skill set. This is what I'm producing with my skill set. And I've seen guys with lesser of a skill set produce more. And I'm thinking, why do we value guys who are more skilled, or quote unquote, it looks better than this dude?
Yeah.
Like I have to listen to people all the time talk to me about KG was much better than Karl Malone. I'm like, the Karl Malone averaged almost 30 and 10 for 11 years. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Well, and where does being that teammate as well, and that facilitator for others come into play? Because you can't measure that. So you have to take that into account as well. Does that go into that? Because that's not measured by production.
Right.
That is part of your skill set. It's an intangible. So, right?
I think that what I need to get to the bottom of, and I need to have a better understanding is what is defined as skill. If you could give me a satisfactory answer on what skill is, and what that skill is producing, then maybe I might have a better understanding of why you're digging a person being skilled more than you dig in production. Because that's where I think the divide comes in.
Yeah, definition.
Just FYI to anyone in the chat, we love your chats. Put your chats in, put your likes. You can say weird stuff. I just found out the timeout button. So you'll be putting timeout, which...
Kansas City
you're now in timeout. Jillian commented. Chiefs touchdown. Please tell me it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No.
Amendola. Oh, do you have him on fantasy?
I do.
I have Patrick too.
He's my flex. Oh, what?
Well,
Drew Watson.
I know. Let's see.
Who's Drew?
Jay, how much is left in the third quarter?
7 minutes. Yeah.
7 minutes,
okay,
20
cool.
seconds.
Let's do a few more questions. I know Keyshawn had a few for us. He kept asking, but
all right, we're gonna go through the chat. We're just gonna go through the chats, and then this is good. So then we'll all go watch the fourth quarter together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're dancing? What are you doing?
I'm excited.
Can I ask you a question? Why do we get the plain white wall with the string of lights, but like Yuta gets the brick wall?
I've only done a few videos with the brick wall.
It's not the brick wall.
It's depending.
We have breaking news, folks.
What?
We have breaking news.
What's up?
Suns vice president calls for Robert to resign after NBA suspension.
Resign. Don't say resign. Say get him, sell the team.
So the vice president of the team calls for him to quit.
Nice.
You don't need to be,
as my kids would say, nice.
I like
real
it.
Ones.
Breaking news.
So
vice president.
Can we just give Brett Favre, Robert Sarve, or whatever the heck his name is, and all those Little Mermaid haters one.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Get him out of here.
All right, now we can go to the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can. But really quick, so if he sells a team, will the Suns still just be bought by somebody in air? Like, will nothing?
I'm going to buy the Suns. I'm going to buy the Phoenix Suns.
Can you please?
I'm announcing it today. We will be NBA champions by 2027.
Good luck with that. That's what the last guy said.
I would love to move back to Arizona. I loved living in Arizona. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I say that, but then I spend the summer there and I regret it. But
I've been in Arizona in the summertime, yeah. Not so
Fair
much.
Enough.
I do love it. I love the sun, but
when your pool feels like you're jumping into a bowl of hot soup, it's not.
Yeah. Or your seatbelt scalds your arm for.
Hey, how about I had to work in a suit with a tie.
Oh, I can't imagine.
All right, go ahead.
Keyshawn,
Chats,
he's asked us. OG, talk about you saying Klay ranks higher than Kyrie all time. You take Klay out and then put Kyrie. Man, they're 4 times better.
This is the same dude that said to me yesterday that if you take Klay off that roster and you put Buddy Hield in there, that they still rolling. That's the same dude that said that to me. So I'm good.
Which year? Which season?
The years that they was winning the NBA championships. This dude said to me that if you take Klay off that roster and you put Buddy Hield on the roster, they rolling. And I'm not buying that at all. Absolutely not. And Klay Thompson was better in his role as a number 2 than Kyrie Irving has been. And he produced more. His job as a shooter, his job as a defender, and he produced more than Kyrie Irving. This is the prime example that I'm talking about, Haley, about a guy confusing a guy's skill set and what he produced. Keyshawn is a guy who's in love with Kyrie Irving's skill set. He's not even factoring in how that translates into winning. How it translates to winning with the Warriors, we're talking about a guy in Klay Thompson who shoots the long ball, who defends with the best of them, who stretches the defense, who causes so many different problems. Kyrie, and not only does he cause so many different problems offensively, he's also one of the better defenders in the game. Kyrie Irving, all of that other stuff that comes with him, that's the problem. So for him to tell me that Buddy Hield, take Klay off the roster and put Buddy Hield on the roster, I think that, and they would still be rolling, I think that that's very ignorant.
Well, I think we have to talk about what does Buddy Hield bring to the, what does he bring to the table? What are his biggest attributes on the court? He doesn't
shoot it like Klay. We could start right there.
No.
He doesn't shoot the basketball like Klay. He doesn't defend like Klay. And even in that offense, he wouldn't be, even if that offense was involved with him and he was implemented in that offense, I don't think that he would be as productive as Klay in that offense. So
yeah,
I still haven't gotten a satisfactory answer on that. I think that's a nut question right there.
He said he was drunk when he said that, so I guess that makes more sense now. But yeah. Okay. Let's see what else. You guys, we have a couple more time for a few more questions. King Marco said Saquon Barkley will finish this year being the best back in the league. Fluent, how do you feel about that?
Well, if week 1 is
Tone, before you even answer that, what I want you to do is I want you to acknowledge one thing: the New York Giants. That's all I want you to do. Before you answer that, I want you to acknowledge the New York Giants.
Okay, here I'll acknowledge the New York Giants.
I'll
acknowledge the New York Giants. The Tennessee Titans gave them a game that they never should have won. Congratulations, New York Giants.
There's a dude.
It'll be one of 3 wins you get this year.
Okay, we're still standing on that. All right,
let's be very clear. Let's be very, very clear.
Okay.
1, the Titans are dumb. They should have won that game. 2, that was a horrible call. Horrible call at the end of the game to go for 2. Saquon Barkley had to break 3 tackles to get that 2-point conversion. And if the Titans had any kind of tackling ability, we'd all be sitting here agreeing with me saying, what a dumb call. Take the tie and go into overtime. Okay. Now, the only way I agree with the decision would have been Daniel Jones threw that interception in the end zone. Dable went and gave him a heck on the sideline. If he would have put the ball in Daniel Jones's hands, to make a decision whether to run or pass, and he throws it in for two and build up the young guy's confidence, that I'm okay with that. That I would be okay with. That was a bad call. He got bailed out because they won. You're a bad, and you know what? And then it's funny when people, oh no, it's a gutsy call. It shows big kahunas. No, dummy. It's a guy who knows his team stinks and he needs to do stuff like that to get a win because he knows he's not going to get many this year. That's it. That's all that tells me as a football, person, is that your team's bad. So you did whatever you had to do to get a win because you had a chance to win because you're not going to get many of them because the other team's better. Because if you went into overtime, what are you afraid of? Oh, that you're going to lose. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, sorry, Saquon Barkley. I love Saquon Barkley. I'm so happy Saquon Barkley is back and healthy. He is phenomenal. He looks like year 1-2 Saquon Barkley. I hope he stays healthy. I hope we see. Now, here's the other part. How many times are we going to see 200 or 3, whatever the hell he had, 200 all-purpose yards, to get them a win? Probably not going to happen that often. But the league is better. I've said this a million times. When Barkley and CMC and Derrick Henry, when everyone's healthy and playing their best, that is the best time to be an NFL fan, is when everyone's healthy. So I hope we see Saquon Barkley have a great season. And yes, he has an opportunity to be the number 1 back in football. 100%. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got thighs the size of a small building. He should be good.
Yeah, I hope he can stay healthy.
We were having a serious conversation, Tone, not just 2 short years ago, of who the best running back was in the league. He was very much a part of that.
After year 1 and 2, it was not crazy to say he's on his way, or he is right now the best back then. He just had 2 bad years of injuries.
Yes, yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
Tough luck. A couple more questions before we head out, but I do have to ask, Jay, Cowboys, obviously Dak injury is thrown into the mix now. Obviously they started off real gross in the first place, but what can we look at? What kind of record can we expect from them?
Tone,
and
go ahead, I'm sorry.
And touch on Cooper Rush as well. Sorry.
Tone, can tell the young lady, Tone, how I felt about the Cowboys before the season started.
Trash.
Garbage.
Trash.
I didn't have them
anywhere. Trash.
I didn't have them making the playoffs. So now we're going to compound that with Dak screwing up his hand. And I know this through experience. Contusions and lacerations take weeks to heal. Broken bones and torn ligaments take months to heal. So this thing with Dak, they're trying to sell y'all that this is only a 4-week thing. Tone, this is way worse than what they're telling you. I'm telling you this. Broken things never heal. I wish I could show you. I can't even make a fist still from catching a pass and breaking a fist. I'm telling you. So this thing is way worse, and they were already sputtering before Dak. They had 3 points. That offense was going nowhere. So now what you're going to do is you're going to bring in. Is that
Dallas's offense though, or is that maybe an indicator of the Bucs defense and the fact they were running the ball really well?
That the Cowboys were running, the
Cowboys were too, but we already know they're dumb. Their record, the Cowboys' record, when Zeke rushes for more than 20 carries a game, is 30-5 or 30-10.
They were actually undefeated at one point, Tone.
They were one, yeah. But I think it's up to 30-10.
Yeah.
And when he rushes for 100+ yards, they're 26-4.
Yeah, they don't lose.
When he gets the ball, they win. But what do? Let's throw.
They don't lose.
They look really. Talk about winning ugly. Run the. What did the Bucs do? Ran Leonard Fournette. Play action. That's Tom Brady 101.
Mm-hmm.
More teams should learn from that because it still is winning football. It still is the way to win.
Fact. Now, when I look at the Cowboys, the Cowboys are exactly who I thought that they were going to be. I think this offense isn't as good. Losing losing their best wide receiver, and now CeeDee Lamb is now a number one. They just don't look like what they were a year ago. That defense with Micah Parsons, don't get me wrong, Micah Parsons is one of the best. I think that they should just put him as an edge rusher, and I think he'll be one of the best edge rushers in the game if they just leave him at edge rusher. Take the linebacker tag off of him and put him at edge rusher, right? Put him at DN, and I think that he'll be one of the best DNs in the game. However, this offense is the difference. And when I think about the Cowboys, now that you're going to have Rush, here's the thing. And here's the thing. There's a reason why you have a backup quarterback, right? You have a backup quarterback for insurance. Now, when something happens, what you don't do is you don't go buy more insurance. This is why you have a backup quarterback. So there's not anybody that's on the street that's going to come into the Cowboys locker room and learn what they've been doing since they've been running for as long as they've been running and lift this team to get to a point where they can be at least competitive until they get Dak back. They don't have anybody, especially the guys that they're talking about, Cam Newton and Colin Kaepernick, who hasn't played in 6 years.
How about Jimmy G?
Nope.
No, absolutely not, Tone. And the reason why there's no way that the 49ers are going to give the Cowboys Jimmy G. No way. Of all the teams that they would trade him to, there's no way that they would give him Jimmy G.
How about an Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy reunion? We don't need him in the NFC North anymore.
That would make things even worse, because what happens if Jimmy G goes down? Let's say, for the sake of argument, Tone, that he gets traded to the Cowboys and he goes down there and they start rolling. Do we put Dak back in the lineup? Or do we stick with Jimmy G? Now you got an even bigger problem. So they don't want that. No way do they want that. The Cowboys are garbage. The Cowboys were garbage last year. The Cowboys are going to be garbage this year. I'm good on the Cowboys. H, how you feel about Brooklyn? How we both feel about Brooklyn? That's where I'm at with the Cowboys. I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the Cowboys will figure out that it's time to and they'll use Zeke and Tony Pollard the way they should have when Dak was there.
Garbage.
Yeah. No, I was right there with you, Jay. Like, before the season started, I didn't expect much, but now it's sealed. Yeah. The deal is sealed.
I'm good.
But yeah, let's do this last question, and then we'll head out to the fourth quarter. Antonio Brown had a top five prime when it comes to wide receivers. AB is a top 7 wide receiver all time. Sucks how his career ended. Fluent, is that
top 7?
Fair?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I agree. His prime was phenomenal. Like,
right.
At his best, Antonio Brown is one of the best wide receivers ever. But top 7 all time. So I got to look at Jerry, Randy, Owens, Megatron,
Chris Carter.
That's actually the name in my head. Chris Carter. I was either going to say Larry Fitzgerald or Chris Carter. Chris Carter, Larry Fitzgerald.
Was Antonio Brown better than Marvin Harrison?
Marvin Harrison.
Was he better than?
And here's the thing. There's guys today, right? Like here's the history's not going to be. And I missed some guys. They're large and whatever. There's some guys today like Jefferson, like Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, that are going to knock him further out, because I think those guys will have longer careers and they're already dynamic. So I would say, like, yeah, you can make a case 7th, but I think, look, he's a top 10 wide receiver that might, because of his off the field stuff, unfortunately, might get bumped out of there in the next couple of years because of these guys that have come in, and it's a more pass friendly league. Right, so all those numbers are going to start to be so ridiculous that they're going to knock out. He's definitely not top 5, but yeah, there's a case for him top 10. Absolutely. Well, top.
The guys that you just mentioned, and I think after 7, like you said Rice, Moss, Owens, Megatron, Chris Carter, Fitz, Marvin Harrison. Now, the question that I had, Largent. The question that I had, was he better than Steve Smith?
That's a debate.
I
like Steve Smith better, but that's a debate.
I think that's a real debate, and I think that Steve Smith was better than him. I think about Steve Smith. I think about the better wide receivers during that time. Steve Smith, I think, was better than him. When I think about other wide receivers, I think he was better than Lynn Swann. I think he was better than, let's see, all the other great receivers that there were. Was he better than Andre Rison? I think he was better than Andre Rison.
And keep in mind, they did make two different points, right? At his prime, which I do have him higher, but then total body of work, which is where he unfortunately comes down a bit.
I think that you can make a case for him being a top 10 wideout during his prime. I think you can make that case. But that's
what about guys like, Michael Irvin, Reggie Wayne, Hines Ward? Do they come into it at all?
To be honest with you, I think he was better than Michael Irvin.
Okay.
I do. I think he was better. I think Michael Irvin was as good as the playmaker was. I think he was a product of an awesome offense. I do think that he was. Reggie Wayne also. I think he was better than Reggie Wayne. I don't think he was better than Marvin Harrison, though. I don't.
I think we missed Sterling Sharp.
He was not better than Sterling Sharp.
Julio Jones.
I think he was better than Julio.
Okay.
I do think that he was better than Julio. I think he was a better route runner than Julio. Julio a better athlete than him, but I think he was a better route runner than Julio. And I think he had better hands than Julio.
I think for his size, like pound for pound, he might be the best. Because Antonio Brown's not a big wide receiver in comparison to these other guys, right?
I think he was barely 6 foot, something like that. Yeah. I think you can make a case for him being top 10. Top 7, no. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he's right.
He's kind of right on the cusp.
I think, like I said, prime, yes, you're having that top 5 conversation. For his full body of work, he's just outside of that. He's outside of 7, in the top 10. But again, I think that will only last for a couple of years until he gets bumped.
Okay. Cool with that. The Chargers are holding the Chiefs off from getting this next touchdown. Looks like it's 3rd and goal, 3 points apart. So this is gonna be a good game. I
got CHE in one league. I got Travis Kelce in another. Let's go. Either one.
I have Clyde.
Fantasy football. See, make every game more exciting, Jay. You gotta join the fantasy football revolution.
Maybe next year. All right, we'll watch this 3rd and goal real quick, and then we'll go.
We'll get out of here.
They've stopped them every time. They're gonna have to kick a field goal.
Take the points. Take the points.
Go for it.
This is crazy. Chargers defense is insane.
People are crazy. You add Khalil Mack to a defense that was already pretty damn good, and a healthy Khalil Mack. People forget. Look, Aaron Donald's the best defensive player in football.
Touchdown.
Nope.
Oh, that should have been 6. That should have been 6 going the other way, Tone. That should have been 6 going the other way. He jumped the route. Jackson jumped the route. I'm sorry, Samuel jumped the route. That should have been 6 going the other way. Oh, that should have been 6 going the other way. That should have been 6 going the other way. Easily. That's 6 going the other way. He's got the whole field.
There it is. And end of 3rd. So what I was going to say, and then we'll call it a night. You add before Khalil Mack gets hurt in Chicago, we were having a conversation that is he as good as Aaron Donald? He was that disruptive. He was that good a defensive player. You now put him on a team opposite Joey Bosa? What do you expect? And you wait, once they get J.C. Jackson back, this team's actually defense is going to get better. The Chargers, listen, Justin Jefferson last year had a built-in excuse, right? The defense let him down time and time again. If it was a year for the Chargers, this is it, because there's no excuses. You've got the offense, you've got the defense. Go get it.
Real quick I just lost his name that quickly. Steelers wide receiver that we were just talking about.
Hines Ward?
No.
Antonio Brown?
Antonio Brown. Was he better than Andre Johnson?
Yes. I think so. I really like Andre Johnson, but I think
I am too. I was a big fan of the big wide receivers.
I'm trying to disconnect the antics from the on the field guy.
Just the player.
I believe, Antonio Brown's better. For me.
All right. Okay.
Alrighty, y'all. We're gonna leave it here and go and finish off this 4th quarter. could go either way. It's looking really good. But yeah, either of you two have any last words to put in, or
I have one.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
Let's go Niners. We rolling this week.
Let's go Niners.
They're down, baby.
Yeah.
They're down. The Packers are going down this week in Green
Man.
Bay. Book it.
All right. If that does in fact happen, I will be on the Bears mini.
I'm getting my ticket. I'm right with you.
I'll say at least this.
Right with you.
The spread is 10. I'm taking the Bears with the 10 points. I'll say that.
Okay. Okay. I like it. All righty, everybody. Thanks for being here. Appreciate having you in the chat and hearing all your thoughts. And we will see you next Thursday.
Take it light.
For now.
Take it light. Take it.